Good evening. How are you? Well, it's been raining here, and I'm in my office because I had to throw some papers together. And also, I don't know if you know this, if you have an iPad or something, but I got a new iPad, first time in a long time. And you can transfer everything from your old iPad to your new iPad. They just talk to each other. And I've been a fan of this kind of stuff since I was wiring boards in high school. But this technology is pretty cool. I have a master's in information science. It must be so dated it doesn't matter at all, but it is a graduate degree. So the weather today, rainy, 70s, kind of comfortable except wet, and I expect to be out tomorrow. Today, of course, the question is, the jury is out, and what can we expect for them? And the day concluded, as you probably know, in which they were asking for the testimony, certain testimony by Cohen and by Pecker. And the thing about questions from the jury, and they call them notes, they are used for clarification on points. Sometimes it's a checklist. I think that we should ask this question and be sure that we're very comfortable that this is what was said, because we had two sets of capable advocates. I don't agree that the defense was so capable, but they may have that attitude. And if they have that attitude, then the question is, I'd like to see what the transcript says, and that's what they've asked for. And both parties are arguing, I guess, about the scope and the inclusion of what goes into that. When I've had to deal with juries, my judgment as to what they are thinking or what they might do goes right out of my head. And I've heard other trial lawyers who are commenting say the same thing. But what does bring you back to the case and what does help you stagger through the uncertainty of the post-trial during the period of deliberation are these notes. And what happens is we read them like they were ruminations of some higher being. And you could read them one way. You could read them that there's a debate in the jury room, and they're looking at these because there's a difference of opinion, and we're going to settle it one way or the other. And, a fear that all of us have is that we've all talked to one of these Trump MAGA nuts. Some who appear very rational and logical and so forth, and I've had conversations in recent days, indeed, about this trial. And they come at this from a very different way that I cannot fathom. I mean, I hear what they say, I know what they say, but the logical steps don't appear to be there. But unlike the jurors, they're getting their information from Fox, although one person I talked to said he ladles out CNN to give balance to his perceptions, although it was not manifest to me that watching CNN made any difference in his opinion. So there's always that about the jury. Are the questions about Pecker, which I think are useful, and the way I would read them as the prosecution is that if they're asking about Pecker, they're asking for other sources who are not Cohen, who carried the ball forward as to what these hush money women were all about. And so that I think that makes a difference. But we'll just have to wait and see. When the note first came in this afternoon at 3:30 or so, if I have the time right, I thought it was possible that they may have already reached a verdict. I would guess they've already taken a poll of their group and found maybe where the strength is. Maybe, for example, everybody thinks it matters what Trump signed himself, or maybe others think, well, if he signed it himself, he didn't know what he was signing. So there are scary things that come out of a jury room. So what is the advice I give anybody? Learn patience. Be stoical. Because you can't do anything else. And I suppose there's a good chance that we'll have a result tomorrow, and I'm hoping that Trump is convicted. In unrelated and related news, in the sense of those who are the beneficiaries of Trump presidency, Associate Justice Alito said, "My wife is the protester." She's the one who put up those flags, one upside down and the other and he had nothing to do with it. And so he is not going to recuse himself from the case. Given everything else he's done and the appearances he's made publicly and the things he said, I don't know how if Roberts truly wanted to have a court that was respected as being balanced and subject to some form of ethical appearances. Often when we talk about judges, we talk about the appearance, even if not an offense has been committed. But for Alito, he's too arrogant for that. He has no interest in protecting the office that he's abused so thoroughly. So now Biden says he'll appoint good justices to the Supreme Court. Now, I think that was scheduled before Alito went off and said what he had to say. I would have expected Biden to do that. It's one of the reasons that I support him for the presidency. There are other reasons that I would have reservations about. And if we were in a freer situation, Biden might iron out some of these differences with people like me and others who think his full agenda should reflect additional values involving freedom and civil rights, which takes me to what happened in the Middle East again. We have this situation with Rafah, and we've rattled the cages of Netanyahu and said, we don't want you going in there and doing these things. So they go in, that is the Israelis go in, Netanyahu goes in, and what does he do? We end up with 45 dead, 65 injured, and part of the answer by Netanyahu is it's an accident, and part of the United States' reaction is, well, it isn't specifically the place that we were concerned about. Oh, so we can kill men, women, and children. And I don't know if you've seen any of the films and so forth, but they're devastating. They're absolutely devastating. They look like the places that we encourage our leaders in history past to get involved, to intervene, and to save the blood and suffering that is happening to non-combatants, to the innocents, to women and children. And we haven't done that. We have a lot of work to do in America, and we hope that it will start with this conviction. And I wouldn't tell a juror that that's why they should do it, but I do believe that the evidence is overwhelming, and if they don't do it, we're in for a longer haul than we're already in for. And we're going to have to work extra hard for the election this year. And we're going to have to hope that there are people that have a rational basis and who do care about how things are done and how America gets things done. And that if we're going to say we are a beacon of freedom for the world, well, then we got to live it. We can't just talk it, because talk is cheap. So I expect I'll be out tomorrow walking, and I'll get back to you. And if you have an iPad and you're thinking of getting a new one, my experience is it's pretty fascinating how it can transfer from one to the other, particularly how, since I've accumulated stuff over years, the one I had was fine. I've just filled it up. So I have editing to do, but I have a machine I can use immediately. So all the best to all of you. Keep the faith. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.